All right, let's get started. Welcome to the April 2022 OpenZFS leadership meeting. I looked at the agenda. Nice background, Jorgen. I looked at the agenda and there's not too much on it. So we'll probably have plenty of time for other Q&A or other items. But why don't we get started with, I'm not sure who added this, but somebody's asking about this pull request, the Blake 3 hash support. I don't know if, I think Tino owns this PR. The person was asking what's the status, when will it be integrated? I see that it seems to be moving forward. The submitter, Tino, has been updating it as recently as today. I think the last major question he was asking Mark or Brian, what is left to be done? Do either of you know?
No, I'll take a look at it. I haven't looked at that recently.
I think that we discussed this before, and folks thought that the idea is good. So maybe my guess is probably reviews needed. There are a few comments, but there's no approving reviews. So Mark, you may need to encourage folks to review the code.
I'll take a look at that.
If I remember correctly, one of the aspects was that someone wanted confirmation about whether it's a strong cryptographic checksum or not. I think Felix Dörre, I solicited feedback from him. I think he's qualified to answer that. He responded on the call, on the PR.
Cool.
So is that question out of the way?
Yeah, and I see
there has not been any explicit reaction. Yeah, he said that it looks good, but there has not been a okay, we'll take your word from it kind of reaction from maintainers.
Yeah.
I think.
It's fine with me. All right. It seems like it's slowly moving forward. I have one agenda item. I don't know if there's really enough people here to create a significant poll, but we're thinking about the next OpenZFS conference, which will be in October or November, like it normally is, which is about 6 months from now. And we're thinking about, will it be in person? I know there's some conferences that are starting to have in-person things. There's others that are not. So I wanted to poll folks and find out if there was an in-person conference, would you attend? And I understand everybody's kind of got different situations in terms of risk of COVID. I mean, that's kind of the main concern here is who knows what COVID will look like in 6 months. But obviously there's a big expense and organization required from us to organize it and from other folks to attend. We'd like to do that if it's going to be beneficial and people are going to attend. So maybe, I don't see a poll thing on here, but I'd be interested to hear folks' opinions, and also maybe do a thumbs up or a check mark versus yes versus no. Check mark for you want to come in person, and the X no for you would not be interested. I see some check marks. Any thoughts or opinions on what we can do to, I see lots of check marks. So it looks like a lot of people are interested in person. I think we'll need to think about like what, if any, precautions we take to make sure that it's as safe as possible for people. Whether that's like vaccination, masking, social distancing, stuff like that. Hopefully those are things that we can kind of figure out closer to the conference. If COVID keeps kind of going down, then I imagine people will be pretty relaxed about that. But if there is another spike, then people might want to have more assurances. Any thoughts or opinions that folks want to share about this? Maybe your experiences at other conferences or other conferences that you're attending in person that are kind of similar.
So I'm helping organize an event that will take place next month. And for us, I mean, it's probably also different between different countries and so on. But the main thing was that the venue is giving us kind of the guidelines, and those guidelines are generally stronger than the like legally required ones. So I think that's about it.
All right. Yeah, we'll definitely check into that. All right. Well, looks like a lot of folks would like to attend. Some people didn't respond. I'm guessing maybe those people might not be interested in attending or be able to attend, regardless of, COVID. So we will get started with planning an in-person event, I think. Yeah, I definitely hear the comment about like we wouldn't want to relax guidelines at the last minute because people might be making decisions based on that. That makes sense. So given the effort involved with the in-person event, the past conference, I basically organized. I did almost all the logistics in terms of what happens on the day of myself, which I will not be able to do for an in-person conference. So we definitely need more help. We can hire some of that help. We have a contractor, Victoria, who has done the sponsor, working with the sponsors. So she may be able to do some more stuff for us, but it would be really wonderful if someone from the community was interested in doing some of this logistic stuff to help make the conference happen. So the stuff I'm talking about is like working with vendors, for food and the event, and coordinating with them, making sure that everybody gets paid, making sure that all the contracts get organized, and then also like whatever additional help we can get with being a point of contact for attendees and speakers to make sure that they have all the logistics that they need for the day of, those kinds of things. The AV folks, we'll hire AV folks to record it and broadcast it and stuff. So, working with them, all of that kind of stuff would be really appreciated. So if someone or some set of people is interested in kind of taking this on and making it yours, I would love to work with you and continue working, continue doing the managing the content side of it. So, working with speakers and with a program committee to do selection of talks. But it would be great to have somebody else help out with more of the logistics of running the conference. And, we're definitely open to, like, I realize that with asking for help also means giving up some control. So, I think that we would like to have the conference in the Bay Area, but, we're open to it being a different venue or a different city. It's been in San Francisco the past many years. So, if somebody is organizing it and they're like, I think that we should do it in some other city in the Bay Area, we're definitely open to that as well. Does anybody want to any thoughts, or anybody want to comment or volunteer? Oh, Michael was asking about Karen. Yeah, Karen doesn't have as much time to spend on this now. So she has a different role at Delphix now. And so she doesn't really have as much time to spend on it. But Karen will definitely Karen and I will work with whoever does step up to help this organizing to pass on all the info that we have, and then, to help with any decision making that's needed.
I will observe that Alan and I have non-zero experience with such things, but we're both busy and probably couldn't do it alone. So if you do have, clear liaisons, there's probably an opportunity there. But Alan, I'll let you speak for yourself.
I've never organized a conference. That was all you.
You've been on a program committee.
Oh yeah, program committee. That's a lot
point
different.
blank.
That's the part
AV
Matt still
with
wants to do for a reason.
Canada would be a nice place for a conference.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, but not Hamilton. It's a terrible place. You don't want to come here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I and the other folks that I've worked with in the past can handle the kind of content program committee stuff. But if you are interested, if Alan or anyone else is interested in volunteering on that front, more input would definitely be welcome on that. Yeah, I mean, usually I'm kind of like soliciting people and getting people to send their submissions, and then we have a small program committee that looks at all the submissions. I try to anonymize the submissions, at least for the other reviewers, and then send it out. And then we have kind of a feedback rubric for each of the submissions, and then have a meeting to discuss that. So if anyone's interested in that, that help would also be welcome. But the thing that we really need to make the conference happen is somebody that's going to kind of own the logistics of organizing an in-person event.
Do you have a drop dead date you need to make that decision by?
We don't know what that date is yet. I mean, 6 months is like, we're not behind yet, but we will be soon, I think, in terms of planning. So I think that in the next couple of months, we should try to nail down the venue, at least venue and dates.
Yeah, I suppose even just the vendors for food and, like you said, the video production and so on is slightly more complicated than usual, because you can't just be like, well, just do what we did last year, talk to those people. It's like, well, it's been a couple of years now.
Yeah, we did check with a few of our previous vendors, and it seems like they're all still in business. So that's good. Those are definitely options to investigate.
Yeah, like I could help manage the video production stuff because I have some experience there, but mostly I expect the people we used the last couple of times seem to do very well.
Yeah, and a lot of it is kind of just being here, like having people and equipment that can show up on the day.
Yeah.
And I know you're not local, so.
Is Delphix averse to another company helping out that has put on West Coast events? No,
I think we're definitely open to, like, if another company, as I think we've talked about in the past, like the model for this with Delphix is that it's like Delphix becomes more like a normal sponsor, and not like, you know, doing a bunch of special things that nobody else is doing. So, you know, we're definitely open to another company like providing space or, you know, in-kind sponsorship where it's like, yeah, you know, we are good. We'll do all the organizing, but we want to be listed as a whatever, you know, sponsor, even though we're not putting in the money. Like, we would definitely be open to those kinds of arrangements.
Noted.
Cool. Let's see what other has any. Great, I see notes. I think that's all of the things that are listed on the agenda. Other questions or topics?
I just quick update, the Linux namespace patch. I think we've settled on how we'll change the user interface for it slightly. Instead of providing the numeric number of the namespace, you'll provide a path to the namespace, which is like /proc/ some PID that's in that namespace /ns/user. And by doing it that way, we can turn that file descriptor into a reference to the namespace. So ZFS can hold that reference the entire time a data set is delegated to that namespace, so that even if that namespace goes away, a new namespace can't be recreated with the same ID until that data set is unzoned. And that should solve the remaining problems there. We should have a patch up for that, hopefully this week or next week, to update that pull request with that change, which I think will solve the final problem that was left there.
That sounds great.
Yep. And then we've been experimenting with the suggestions Mav and Matt made, I guess it was 2 months ago now, on changing the write throttle stuff, looking at maybe having a second counter for the dirty data that increments even before the data arrives, so that we can just say, you know, a lot of threads are trying to write all at once. We'll know that we need to apply the throttle sooner there. And we're experimenting with that, and we should have some numbers soon to firm out whether changing to that approach will solve the problem without having to do the kind of keep your foot on the brake that the current patch does.
Cool.
And I guess there was one I forgot about, I think because the pull request got closed, but then backed out, was the ZFS list speed ups. That ended up causing a problem somewhere, if I remember correctly, and had to be backed out. I need to reopen that and solve that problem.
Yeah, I think that was the one with like kernel user incompatibility. If you updated user bits.
That might have been it.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it used the some flag to know that you weren't asking for any fields that required actually opening the data set. That you could get it all from just the MOS or whatever. There's one other one. Oh, I'm having trouble fixing the failing test on the write inflation calculation pull request. The ZFS receive with a ref reservation is supposed to not receive more than one transaction group too much data, like beyond the quota. Or not that it wasn't a ref reservation, maybe it was a quota. I don't know, something. You're not supposed to be able to receive too much data, and it's supposed to be allowed by one transaction group, but the test doesn't actually test for that. It tests something slightly different. And when you lower the inflation, you don't cause the write to pause first or as soon. And so you write more data and the tests passes when it's supposed to fail or whatever, because it's a negative test. But the test complains that, you know, you were able to receive even though you, the quota or reservation or whatever said you didn't have enough space. just because we changed the amount of the amplification factor, the inflation factor, and don't cause a delay because there's too much dirty data as soon. So increasing the amount of data is in the ZFS send stream to, like 1.5 gigs instead of 200 megs makes the test work properly, but it seems silly to just, fire a lot more data across to make the test pass than to figure out what the problem is. I don't know if anybody has any insights there, but any help people can offer would be great.
Cool. It looks like there's a little side conversation going on in the chat. Michael, do you want to go ahead and raise your question on here?
I can, but Rich, thank you for getting back with a Google Doc on the concerns relating to OpenZFS native encryption, particular with regard to replication. And I'd love to come away knowing if it can be confidently recommended for a standalone system that's perhaps not replicating. That sounds like Rich wants to get a Mac OS build in under his roof to test that and see if he's seeing the same issues there. Jorgen, it sounds like you're having rather good experience from Solaris Crypto onward. That's good to hear. But you don't send receipt.
I've been using it for quite a new number of years, but I mean, it's just a file system that's encrypted. I don't send or receive from it.
Got it.
And I was working with Datto to have it ported to Mac OS and Windows, so I feel, I guess, familiar with the crypto side of it. But yeah, the send and receive certainly has had some issues.
Yeah, I have to see if I can find the ticket because it's filed under a Lumos because Alex Wilson found it. So I don't know if it's unique to a Lumos or if it's also present in OpenZFS. I know, like in the past, when I was porting or finishing the port rather of the encryption stuff to Lumos, there was a bug there that turned out was in the OpenZFS one as well. But it's one, I think it's like some sort of race with the where it does like the project dnode upgrade that can cause some problems is what I'm recalling. Like I said, I'll need to see if I can find the ticket.
Oh, I recall it. I recall it very well.
Okay.
There were, I think, if I recall the one you're talking about correctly, it was 100% reproducible for me on a Lumos. I've never reproduced that particular bug on any OpenZFS platform other than on a Lumos. And that, but basically, if you triggered the dnode upgrade after cloning a snapshot that did not already have it done, it would panic. That's one of the only cases I know of a bug that you could trigger without using send receive. But I could not reproduce it on any other platform except Lumos.
And is that bug still outstanding, at least on Lumos?
Last I checked.
Okay.
Last I checked, they posted something rather strong saying, get your data off if you see this before it's too late. And I did not see an update after that.
Alexander, have you seen anything particular within TrueNAS circles?
I'm sorry, I lost the track. What issue?
Regarding native encryption, have you hit any issues on TrueNAS with relationship to it?
Not really. I have few tickets, but don't remember details much, so nothing dramatical.
Tickets within TrueNAS or FreeBSD?
TrueNAS.
Linux for that matter. Okay, cool. Thank you.
TrueNAS.
Here I found the ticket. So if you want to see, there's a
And Alexander, do you have customers?
that's not a
like a
send
fair number of
receive.
customers using it, using ZFS with encryption?
No, we are migrated toward it from FreeBSD jelly we used before. So in upcoming TrueNAS 13 and Scale, we support only native encryption. So the number should grow. I don't know how many people using it now, but some are using.
All right, that's good. Sounds like that. At least it's working well for you so far. I mean, reasonably well that you're using it in production.
Yeah, and that one actually doesn't involve send receive. I'm sorry, it just did. Different issues got merged together in my recollection, but yeah, but that it is at least a, but it is a crypto related.
Are your tests there? I'm just getting through it. Like, is the code to trigger it within the ticket? I'm trying to find.
Well, there's not code, but the steps. Okay, it does require an older ZFS send receive, so that you do that. The quota upgrade, the space upgrade.
Yeah, I just did it by creating a version 3 data set and sending it and receiving it, or not sending, receiving, but creating a version 3 data set and then upgrading the pool, cloning, and then upgrading the data set, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. And so fortunately still haven't, I don't know if anyone's gonna look at it. And I don't know, it may be unique to Lumos, or it could just be where it's more easily triggered. And I like that issue that I ran into when finishing the encryption port. It took a lot. I mean, as it took a bit of work to trigger it on Lumos, but then as it turns out, it took a lot more work just to get that triggered on Linux.
I should mention, I can't trigger this specific series of events to trigger this bug on OpenZFS. The stack trace is more or less identical to a very different bug, where briefly, there's a period where doing a write destroys something that should not be destroyed in order to recreate the buffer later. And if somebody accesses it in the interim, you have a bad time. The stack trace is more or less identical, but that is still an outstanding problem. So I can't reproduce it with these steps. I can sure reproduce destroying something with that stack trace that somebody else is referencing and is no longer there. That's really the big bug that can happen. The other one that people encounter most is sometimes change key gets confused and incorrectly stores what key something is encrypted with.
All right. Do you want to, if you have those bugs handy, could you drop them in the chat or in the notes doc?
Yes, that is very straightforward for me.
Well,
And would change key lock you out?
Usually what happens is that change key updates something on disk that incorrectly, but you already have the data set unlocked often, so you don't notice until you reboot and try to unlock it and fail. I have code to fix this. It's a very good foot gun, so I haven't submitted it, but that you can forcibly override what key it thinks it's encrypted with. So if you know what key it is, you can get your data back, but let's see, that's the one. And a lot of the ones in the spreadsheet are duplicates of each other or likely duplicates of each other, but there it is.
Cool, thanks.
And
yeah, so I mean, Michael, it sounds like it's not really like a really crisp answer to your question of, how production ready is dedupe. Sorry, not dedupe.
Yeah.
We know how production ready dedupe is.
But,
How production ready is encryption.
of course.
and but it sounds like what evidence we do have points to it seems like there are a bunch of problems with send and receive with encryption, but few problems, and at least some people using it successfully with no serious problems outside of the send and receive case.
Thank you very much for having this discussion set up.
But even with
send,
even with send and receive, there are, I think, a significant amount of people using it. And as we discussed in previous meetings, for some people, the encryption send receive bugs appear to be reoccurring, and for others, they never manifest.
Yeah, thinking about now, I actually can recall the tickets. One of tickets I have. It's actually a combination of rekeying, some changing of encryption parameters in combination with replication. So something on receive side made it panic, but I haven't looked deeper. Had no time.
That's a new one. Maybe.
Do you have something to post? I'm searching the Jira for IX.
No, it's some ticket assigned to me on Jira. I may throw a link, but it need a minute.
Cool.
Any other what other topics would folks like to discuss, or issues or PRs that they would like to bring attention to?
I can always ping my PR and suggest people review it. So people seem pretty happy with it at the moment.
Which PR?
The early abort PR. I posted a bunch more data after the feedback I got from the last meeting.
Oh yeah, got it. The compression early abort using like LZ4.
Yes.
Yeah.
My other question would be, what's the status with BRT? If anyone knows.
I've not talked to Pavel in a couple of months since I think last time he was on the call.
Yeah, I don't have any update from him either. There was somebody asking about kind of similar functionality in the issue tracker recently, and I pointed them to Powell, and I don't think that he responded. So he might be busy with other stuff right now, but he seemed pretty enthusiastic about and making a lot of progress. Last time he gave us an update.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised I hadn't heard anything since.
Yeah.
Right.
I know he's been a bit busy, but looks like his branch called BRT on GitHub was last pushed February 16th. So that's not that long ago, but he did seem to have it, 90-something% of the way there.
Yeah, I think that last time, at his last update, he was looking for help with like hooking it up with some of the existing APIs, like the what's it called, the like file cloning API
Right.
on Linux.
Right, in copy file range and reflink and so on, yeah.
Yeah. Other questions or topics?
I can't copy into the chat, but it's if anybody interested in Jira ticket NAS 113491. So yeah, it's a combination of replication with some key change, and there is a backtrace the ticket.
Yeah, post that if you would, even if it's limited access. I probably can see it from my end. Or repeat the number
113491. I am from a phone. It's difficult to copy paste to a phone.
Oh, of course. Yes, it is.
So there's Pavel.
Yeah, welcome, Powell.
Hello.
There was a question about status of BRT.
Yeah, I saw that. That's why I came.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what do you want to know?
I was
The status,
just wondering the current state and what needed to be done.
Okay, so to be honest, I think that pretty much everything is done, including even most of the documentation of the design. So it was just me being lazy not to sync with upstream and resolve the last conflicts and put pull request so people can start looking at the code and starting to get feedback, starting to provide feedback. So I think that's the current status. So I will try to get this done, hopefully this week.
Did you start hooking up copy file range? Because I don't know when exactly you joined the call, but that was what we thought was your last work item.
I just joined.
Okay.
The copy file range, like.
So I actually did that too.
Okay.
Okay.
So I did implement that because it was just easy to do. So I currently have. The implementation. Of course, there is no in FreeBSD. There is no interface yet to do that. So the interface is loaded with the ZFS module. In FreeBSD, at least you can add new system calls to kernel modules. So we have two system. So I have two new system calls to be able to copy entire file or copy just file range. One missing bit, I think. Well, it's an improvement, but I think it would be nice to have. Is that it is possible to clone files between different data sets, and I think that's of course desirable. But there is a limit that if encryption is enabled, then you can only clone within the same data set. And I don't know how we can extend that to allow cloning between data sets with the same keys. So if data set was cloned from another data set, the keys inherited, so we could clone safely the blocks between such data sets. But I'm not really sure how I can compare those two data sets and tell that, okay, they have the same keys, or should I just check maybe the relation that this one is clone of the other or something like that?
There's a specific property that that'll inherit, right? It's not parent key, but what's it called?
Encryption root.
Yeah, encryption root. If they have the same encryption root, then it'll be the same key, right?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, it's only, I think it's only the wrapping key.
Yeah, encryption root is the wrapping key, I believe.
Within a clone, I think within a clone family, it's you have the same encryption key.
Yeah, I think that you need to check if they're the same clone family, which I think, I mean, you can definitely do that at the dataset level, in the kernel code. I don't remember the exact most efficient way of doing it, but
well, to be honest, I just this is something that I reminded that I was thinking about it, but maybe I won't be taking the time to implement that just yet. So I will finish probably what I have, because this is just nice to have. This is something we can do at any point.
Yeah, we can add it on later.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I think open up that PR and folks can start testing it. That's wonderful.
There is some edge cases which I was trying to address. There are probably more. To be honest, there is some parts I'm not 100% sure about that those are done correctly. But there are cases like what if you clone a file and then you clone a clone within the same transaction group? So I was trying to address edge cases like that. But if I don't this correctly, yeah, it'd be nice to know during the review.
Do you have a list of these known edge cases somewhere? Best in the commit message.
Not really, but yeah, I think that they are commented. Cases like that, like for example, when you clone a clone within the same transaction group, there is a comment stating that why there is a specific condition there. So yes, I think most of the of this is documented, but I'm sure it can be probably improved, I guess. But I want to finish the design documentation because it's got a bit more complicated than I wanted to save more space. Like for example, we have separate block reference tables for each VDEF, for each top level VDEF, so we don't have to store VDEF ID in the BRT entry. So we save 8 bits, which is 33% of the entire entry. So I think that was worth doing. So things like that. So there are a couple of, well, so the design is a bit more complex than I hoped for, but I think it's still, it can be understood pretty easily. So I will update the documentation, update the code, and we'll create pull request.
Cool.
Very
That's
much
awesome.
looking forward to doing cheap copies of files or moves of files between data sets. That will make life so much better.
I'm looking
Regarding
forward to breaking
the-
it terribly.
Regarding the FreeBSD syscoids, are you planning to ship, like put those into the PR as well? Is it a common thing on FreeBSD that kernel modules define new syscoids? Or
No, so on FreeBSD, I think the final solution is to have interface within the kernel, so like more generic interface, like regular system call, that basically there is a VOP to file system, and any file system can implement that if they want to. And for example, for now it will be implemented only for ZFS, and will just return not supported for others file system or something like that. So this have to be implemented in FreeBSD, and we also need, of course, start to adapt tools like CP to start using that. So yeah. So for now, I include interface, so it's possible to test this easily. But at the end, we need like more generic interface within the FreeBSD kernel. The same as in Linux, I'm sure. But in Linux, there is already something in place, right? That Btrfs is using.
okay, and are you going to do that work in FreeBSD as well, or are you waiting for someone else to pick that up? Because I think that this might be the right forum for that.
I would like to do FreeBSD, but I'm not going to do Linux part. So this will be something that needs work. I need someone volunteering to do that.
All right, cool. Are there any other topics for today?
I'm still looking for reviews for the corruption corrective receive. I just rebased it after the new error log format changes, and it was actually surprisingly few changes, or surprisingly few conflicts. So I just pushed that and don't know what the test will look like, but yeah, it'd be great if somebody can get to that at some point.
Cool. Yeah, maybe ping Mark and Paul Dagnelli and I think hopefully at least one of us can take another look at that.
Sure.
Yep.
Cool.
We could collect other like outstanding reviews. I think we did that 2 meetings ago. Might be a time to refresh that list.
Of ones that folks would like to have reviews done on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably don't need to like speak them out here. We can just put them in the Google Doc. So.
Right.
I think all of mine are waiting on me again, and then I'll be able to nag people next week.
Okay. Yeah, mine didn't get a lot of eyes. I'll post them again in the doc.
Cool. All right. I think our next meeting will be in 4 weeks. I think it should be at the earlier time, although the calendar has that later one, so I'll try to get that corrected. But it'll be May 24th, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks, everyone. See you then.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.